Hey, first off, I just want to point out again about this Lindsey Williams guy that he, I think, the whole deal was to discredit him big time. Just repeating that, but I think he basically has the truth. Silver's probably going to be about 75 to $100 or something like that. I think it's probably going to go to more. But let's keep things in perspective. Silver is a high-risk asset. Gold is money. Silver's not exactly money, but I still prefer silver over gold any day because I think there's always the real power, or the ones that are running the financial system. They can confiscate or reset the value of gold anything they want. And any metals that's industrial value are probably less affected by arbitrary, you just arbitrarily just can't set the price and keep it there for a long period of time. So I prefer silver, platinum, and palladium over gold, but gold is money, and it's recognized as money. Silver is not really recognized as money. That's one of the problems with it, and that's why it's super volatile, but that's the way it's going to be. That's the reality behind it, though. Silver's not exactly money. Kind of hasn't been for a while. After the market, this is like a friend from a friend of mine. He actually runs Lakota Silver. That's his company. And he's not in North Dakota. He's up in New Jersey near New York. After the markets closed, Reuters posted an article on their website that will have major, this is from Bixweir, major ramifications in the commodities market. Here's the article. I'll post a link on there. Here's some important passages. While the battle over priority trading and new derivatives regulations has taken place largely in public view since the 2008 financial crisis, the fight by J.P. Morgan Chase, Morgan Stanley, and Goldman Sachs to retain or expand their prized physical commodity operations, most inquired in only the past 6 years, has remained hidden. The companies engaged in discussions with the JPM is engaged in discussions with the Federal Reserve regarding its commodities activities. And I highlight this if, because it's a big drama. If the Federal Reserve were to determine that any of the company's commodity activities did not qualify for Bank Holding Act grandfather exemption, then the company would likely be required to divest any such activities. Sure. This is another one. I think this is kind of the Bixweir spiel. But beware of the massive volatility while the banksters try to close out their positions up and down, up and down. Stay safe with your metals outside the system. Just ride out any action. I don't know what he's talking about. There's going to be a lot of volatility in the metals. And, I just want to point out something else. There's some doomsday predictions for March. Maybe true, but, as far as the market's going down. But you know what? That means silver's going to crash. How's that? I mean, really, the reality is, if the economy goes down, silver goes down. It's the way it is. Silver, at least as far as the way it's traded, or, how most people think of it in the business world, it really hasn't been money since, I don't know, the 1800s or something like that. So it's a risk asset, That's why a lot of people don't invest in it. So I'm trying to keep this real, versus a bunch of save the world with silver stuff, because that's not going to happen that easily. And I am basically in physical silver, but let me just put things to reality. You're going to see the price go down if there's some kind of problem with the economy or something in March. But I don't really see how that's going to be. I don't really see it just yet. The Baltic Dry Index was one thing. But I see some articles saying that it's going back up. The PMI was another thing. And this is Blythe Masters. the PMI was another thing. And, it's went down a little bit. But, I also want to point out, it's kind of a good thing to look at. It could portend some stuff that's going to happen. Because, for instance, like, say, here in 2000... I'd have to get on here 2008. 2008, it was going down during the year, but we didn't have it. It went down for a while before it crashed. Same thing with, say, like, this is kind of like a rough thing, but say, for instance, here at 228, February 28th, 2011, right? If you do look at this again, silver actually went up in March and April. That's one reason that makes me think it might be a bad next 2 months because, maybe it does the opposite of what it does the year before, right? But who the hell knows? It was going down. The manufacturing index was going down in March and also going down in April. It kind of pretended everything was, it forecast everything was going slower and slower and slower, which would be bad for the industrial metals, yet there was everything was going up super fast, Well, it kind of told you ahead of time what was going to go on. And actually, palladium peaked around, I think it was February 28th. The silver people going, look, see, silver's better than palladium. But you know what? That's kind of like what happened there. Maybe the manufacturing was going down, right? So you're not going to see one metal just take off and, other industrial metals just sit like nothing, right? That's kind of not how it works. I mean, some do get ahead of the other, but it doesn't one's going to go in one direction and one's going to, palladium was going down here and silver was flying up, right? I mean, how long would that continue? It's not like they're related, but exactly, but where they're kind of commonly related is to industry. And silver's not it's really not money unless you're freaking using it going back to the 1800s. In reality, whatever price you're going to get for it today, it's really tied to more to industry. It's a very high risk asset. Just putting some reality out there. But these are some other things to watch for. Say, for instance, we're looking at this metals complex, and we're seeing silver go up, 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 and platinum and palladium are going down, and gold is going up or something a little bit too. And that might tell you something. If you make a gain, you should start selling maybe, right? Because there might be some other types of things going on in the industry that are telling you, hey, platinum and palladium are down. I mean, it could be because of car production, but sometimes it's an indicator. That's why I don't want to get silver tunnel vision. That's what a lot of people have, so that's not good. As far as let's get on it. As far as gold, right? Obviously, it had a peak in August, right? And that was because of the U.S. debt downgrade. And that's why I think it's going to do that again. That's why I think it's going to do that again. Now, that helps silver along too, because there was somewhat of a tie to gold. But and here I found this very interesting because this last SmackDown that happened right here that we saw with silver and gold, it was primarily in silver and gold. It wasn't really like with platinum and palladium. And that kind of tells me that the metals are, I think it was rigged, okay? I think it was rigged because it was mainly silver and gold. It wasn't, all the industrial metals went down, but silver and gold really got hammered the most. Because Bernanke said he wasn't hitting at any QE. So I think there was some other kind of garbage going on. So, that's why I think it might be alright. I'm nervous about it, but I think it might be alright. And, this might be, one of these things, I don't like getting in too hard on the technical stuff because it's approximately right. I like listening to Endless Mountain. He's got a good technical. Fibonacci points make a lot of sense to me. Points of resistance. And, this thing being below 35, it's probably a buy. Who the hell knows? Maybe there was bounced up and now this is like the resistance point. You can see it's been around this range for quite some time, roughly, roughly. So maybe it'll bounce off of that. I don't know. To me, it actually is a good buy here. I don't know this for a fact, but there's a lot of people thinking that March and April are going to be a lot of problems, but I don't know. I think oil probably is going to go up due to tensions in the Middle East. So, tensions usually mean gold goes up, and that means silver goes up too. Oil and silver kind of run pretty hard together when oil's in a bull run. So, I don't know. I think it's probably a good buy. Might have to hold it. So, that's the way it goes. Euro, yeah, this is interesting too, because this is not the same time frame. It's like a 2-hour chart. But say, for instance, you got February 16th right down here, right? Euro's like 130, something like that. 130, almost even. And so that's February 16th. So from February 16th to February 29th, Euro goes up to like 134.79, 134.8, whatever the heck it is. So that's February 16th to February 29th. And look at silver. It's down here because I'm using a different time frame. But February 16th, right, and then you rise up to February 29th. So basically corresponded pretty good, huh? So I mean, it's kind of like, what do you think's going to happen in Euro? That's going to tell you what's going to happen with silver. I think basically, real roughly. So that's why I've been looking at. I don't want to get silver tunnel vision, but the reality is, the way the price point is on silver has nothing to do with you know, what people are thinking when they're holding the coins. Nothing at all. So I think that silver, though, is probably going to rise. I think it's going to rise. I think it's going to be all right. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I don't see nothing on the right. I don't see nothing that right now that's going to knock it down. I know about the Greek downgrade again. It was S&P had it like one step above default. Then Moody's came out on Friday and it dropped a little. The euro dropped a little bit, and some of the metals did, and all that type of stuff. And there was like the correspondence, but they all kind of knew that was coming up. So there's got to be something else that's going to hammer it. I don't know if there is going to be something else. I just keep thinking that, you know, I just got to go by what I know now. I think the Greece is going to be okay for now. So I don't know. I think this was the bad news right here. So we might see an upward trend again. Now, as far as the Wicked Witch of the West, this is Blythe Masters, or whatever the heck it is. You know, Max Kaiser comments on her, and he's accurate. You know, he jokes about it and stuff like that. But she's, I guarantee you, she's one of these load of crap business dingbats that gets. She's a load of it. That's all I gotta say. The woman who invented credit default swaps and caused the financial implosion of the world, that's Blythe Masters, is also the person whose frantic commodities trading with J.P. Morgan has resulted in the global rise in food prices and current political implosion of the world, or more correctly, parts of North Africa, not to mention the ingestion of plastic rice from China. Anyway, may she get breast cancer and have her titties cut off, you know. Bitch. Anyway, this, you know, looking back at the gold platinum ratio, gold right now is only sitting 1% more than platinum. And, you know, that tells you something. As far, you know, I think it was mainly that was a smackdown on gold and silver. I know everything else smacked down, but I think that this Ben Bernanke statement was, you know, I think there was a little market rigging going on there too, not just the market overreacting. So I don't know. I think I don't want to be a cheerleader, but if I was to, you know, because I tell you the truth, you know, if I thought that silver was going to drop, I'd short it. If I have a reason to think that, I wouldn't like shorting it. But if I had a reason to really think there's a good reason to think that silver's going to drop, I would short it. But I don't necessarily want to do that right now. I might be wrong, but I'm not that sure. So that's why I'm using AGQ and I'm using UCO on the oil. I'm bullish on both of them, but I'm not sure. So as far as these guys, you know, telling us when silver's going to take another massive crash or something like that, yes, I would love to know. But, you know, J.P. Morgan isn't going to tell us. You know, I can ask this lady, Blythe Mart. I never talked to her, you know. Maybe you should ask her. Tell me, bitch, where the hell is the damn price of silver going to go? Anyway, I Actually, if I was right there in the office, I would ask her. You damn straight I would. Uh, I don't cut anybody any hushes. And you know these dorks that freaking. I could see what the hell happened with this one here too. She's a load of it. Anyway, Miss Know-It-All, but the invented the credit default swaps. Anyway, this guy's partly right, but you know, I want to know which way the markets are moving because I'm looking to make money other ways too. And quite obviously, you know, if you got a drop, what the hell's a drop at? A drop like this is what you want to be in on. You want to be on this. You don't want to be sitting here for ages waiting for the damn thing to go up. You want to know this, you know. And that's going to be secret information because actually if I found out something like that, I don't know if I want to blab it all over the place too much. I might tell a few people.